subdivided is you take up any book. It basically wants you to know what, why, and how. Two aspects. First, the important government schemes and policies. And the second, any flagship or any across the sectors. And the second is the SHGs or the self-help groups. Related aspects which UPSC can ask and has asked is the role of such groups in poverty reduction, the role women have to play in the SHGs. Then the second aspect you have is microfinance institutions. Then you have the e-governance models, and then you have transparency and accountability measures. Hello everybody. So now we are going to start the microthematic analysis of governance, which is a part of your GS Mains paper 2. Now governance is a very tricky subject as far as mains is concerned, because you don't have any particular book or syllabus to study governance, and most of the preparation schedules of aspirants hovers around studying more and more number of schemes, studying more schemes related to health, studying particular schemes related to education, etc. And that is why usually it has been seen that the marks which students can get out of these topics usually goes down due to this aspect that the preparation or the route of preparation is completely separate from what UPSC asks in its mains examination. Now, if we look at the entire syllabus of governance, you see very particular terms appearing again and again. This welfare, this policies, then there are schemes, development programs, issues. Now, cumulatively, we have divided it into particular sub-themes and micro-themes which will make your preparation easy, and you should know how to approach the governance paper. Now, the second aspect, while preparing governance, usually how the micro-themes are again subdivided is you take up any book or you take up any material. You see a mention of the particular measure or a mention of a particular topic, then you see there will be a whole lot of points on challenges. Then you will have the various initiatives taken by the government to address that challenge, and then what is the way forward. 90% of the material which you find in the market will focus on this aspect. But if you see the governance question paper, it basically wants you to know what, why, and how of the various governance related topics. As we delve into the previous year questions, we will have a much more clearer idea of what to study with respect to this subject. Now we'll start with the first topic which UPSC mentions from the governance part, that is government policies and interventions for development. Now if you see the questions that have appeared in previous years, it has especially focused on two aspects. First, the important government schemes and policies, and the second, any flagship or any across the sector structural reforms and action. So if I have to give you an example with respect to government schemes and policies, it has asked about PURA or providing urban amenities in rural areas. Then it asked you about the Gati Shakti Yojana. One common theme underlying this part will be it's usually a scheme related to development. Development can be infrastructural or human resource related. Then again it asked about the Aadhaar card and NPR. The questions come from the current affairs, but what aspects does the government scheme target? That is important. If you see, the basis of PURA is rooted in establishing connectivity. When we started the video, I told you about what, why, and how. So once you start writing the challenges, initiatives, and way forward, it will not fetch you marks here. But what you need to understand in governance is you should have your notes with respect to these three aspects, that is what, why and how of this particular scheme. Similarly, if you see, the Gati Shakti Yojana needs meticulous coordination between government and the private sector to achieve the goal of connectivity. So this is focusing on the how aspect of that particular scheme. So governance, approaching answers in governance is slightly different from rest of the questions. Now, if you move next to the structural reforms and actions, here you see the questions that appear are with regard to some of the basic features of the Indian reform movement or the Indian development process. If you see, there has been a question on multi-level planning and what is its use of it, that is to make operations cost effective and remove many implementation blockages. So again, what and why? So this question is targeting the two aspects of what, why and how, chain. Then you have a question on LPG reforms, which is again a structural reforms and has its effect across decades. Then the next, with respect to structural reforms, one aspect which has become very important, taking into account the recent trends, is the policy implementation and what are the impediments in the line of that policy implementation. The question with respect to the protection and prevention of degradation of environment and how it has affected the developmental processes is a part of, again, this sub-theme. Now, moving on, the second topic which the UPSC syllabus talks about from the governance part is the development processes and the development industry. Here, if you see the previous year questions, it can be divided into two aspects. One is the civil society and NGOs, and the second is the SHGs or the self-help groups. Now, again, if you move into the first micro theme, that is civil society and NGOs. Now, if we again see the questions on civil societies and NGOs, we will see a very definite trend appearing across the questions of the previous year. If we see the first question, can civil society and NGOs present an alternative model of public service delivery to benefit the common citizens? And here it is asking you to list down the challenges. Again, another question which came is discuss the contribution of civil society groups for women's effective and meaningful participation. With respect to this topic, the three most important related aspects which UPSC can ask and has asked is the role of such groups in poverty reduction, role in women empowerment, and how does the government policies and the government mode of regulation affect such groups. So when you talk about civil society and NGOs and the associated question, the three most important facets are first, the policy regulations and the governance aspect of these groups. Then you have what role does it play in the women empowerment, and then what role does it have in poverty reduction. Then again, with respect to the governance, the question which came was examine critically the recent changes in the rules governing foreign funding of NGOs under FCRA. Then again, how the role of NGOs be strengthened in India for development works relating to the protection of environment. So it will not be wrong to say the questions from this themes comes from civil society and NGOs and link it with any particular social problem, be it environmental degradation, hunger, poverty reduction, women empowerment, etc. So, this is how we are going to approach this subtheme. Moving on, SHGs, there are a number of questions have come from SHGs, and SHGs especially become very important with respect to, again, the role women have to play in the SHGs. Then the second aspect you have is microfinance institutions, its governance and how it has evolved in India over the years and what role has it played in social development. If you look at the question, the emergence of SHGs in contemporary times points to the slow but steady withdrawal of state from developmental activities. So if you see any group which UPSC has asked time and again, be it any pressure group, be it a SHG, be it a civil society group or an NGO, it has always asked a question vis-a-vis role of state. And in line with this theme, this question has emerged. Then you have question on microfinance, as we just mentioned. Then again, there's a question on the cycle of gender inequality, poverty and malnutrition. We mentioned here, along with it, other social issues. Then the legitimacy and accountability of SHGs and the patrons, the microfinance outfits. So the link between the SHGs and the microfinance is a very important topic with respect to this theme from means perspective. Now, moving to the next aspect, where you can expect 1 or 2 questions every year, that is the good governance. Now, this is not something which is mentioned in the UPSC syllabus in your GS paper 2, but we have divided it because you can create content and sort out your notes for good governance, which will apply across the topics which UPSC syllabus mentions. So you can divide if you see good governance, you have the citizens charter, then you have the e-governance models, and then you have transparency and accountability measures, which will include questions on Right to Information Act, Whistleblowers Act, steps taken in India to act against corruption, etc. Now, starting with citizens charter, see, the question from citizens charter usually has been pretty direct. What is a citizen charter? What are the challenges that have been faced by the government, organization and the departments in implementing citizens charter? And does citizen charter hold any value, and what are the reforms are needed? These are very straightforward questions which come from citizens charter. So this should be an easier topic to prepare. Next, moving to e-governance, this is very important with respect to the present circumstances, because there has been a tremendous push by the government in the past decade on e-governance and its associated role in public service delivery and the grievance redressal mechanism. In line with that, the questions which have emerged from this topic, if we see 1 or 2, the emergence of 4th industrial revolution or the digital revolution has initiated e-governance as an integral part of the government. Then again, the question which came, the e-governance is not only about utilization of the power of new technology, but also much about critical importance of use value. Going forward in e-governance, what you can basically do is, what are the initiatives taken by the government to promote e-governance? You can prepare an evaluation chart of how the e-governance tools and governance mechanisms have worked in India in the past decade. And the third, what are the reforms that are needed to address the current inadequacies of the model? Now, once you are prepared with content with respect to these 4 or 5 points, most of the questions of previous years would be attempted and can be attempted from these aspects only. Now moving on, the next aspect is the transparency, accountability, or the good governance measures. The questions here usually focuses on Right to Information Act, the Whistleblowers Act, the steps taken to tackle corruption, and what are the factors which have led to corruption in India, and any corruption scandals or controversies that have emerged in the past 1 decade and have had a tremendous impact on the society and economy of India also becomes very important as far as this topic is concerned. So the last topic from the governance section is the role of civil services in democracy. If you see the questions on civil services which UPSC has constantly asked, there has been a rare incidence where it has asked about a specific aspect about cadre-based civil services, the cause of slow change in India. That was, I think, one of the cases where it especially referred to a specific cause while asking a question on civil services and democracy. But as far as this topic is concerned, the two most important themes which you need to study is the difference between the traditional bureaucracy and modern bureaucracy. This would include, while differentiating, what are the ambient conditions that has led to the change, what are the skills required that have changed, and how the framework of civil services in the democracy has evolved over the years. The second aspect which can be expected from where UPSC will ask question is the role of changing technology and role of civil services in such a governance system. So while approaching governance part, just keep in mind, as we said in the start of the video, focus on the what, why, and how of every governance topic which you study. And then try to link it, try to see the overlap between a governance measure and a technology related measure. With that, we come to the end of this video. Thank you.